Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today, we'll start this bad daf Lamed Ches. We are going to begin on Lamed Ches Med Aleph, about 8 lines from the top with the 2 dots. Hashoyel kli mechavero me'erev Yom Tov. So we mentioned in our Mishnah in yesterday's daf that if a person would borrow a vessel, some type of cup of sorts, from his friend, and if he would do this before Yom Tov, then it's karagli hashoyel. Then it has the din of the person who is borrowing it, and therefore he could bring it in any direction of 2,000 amos, as is the din of tchumim. However, if let's say he would only borrow it on Yom Tov, then it's karagli hamashil. It has the din of the one who lends it, and therefore you're limited to as far as how far you could bring it along, connected to the mashal. So where it says pshita, this seems to be pretty obvious. So tzricha shul masul ella b'yomtiv, and this is question 12, TA 13, TB 14. Question 12 asks hashoyel kli mechavero me'erev yomtiv karagli hashoyel. What's that coming to tell you? It's saying that even though it was not actually given to you except on Yom Tov, but since the person gave it to you that you could borrow it, therefore it's considered to be yours, in the fact that you can now use it and carry it again based on your tchum. So madatema la b'rishusik ukme. Maybe it shouldn't be considered in your rishus because you didn't actually pick it up until Yom Tov. Kamash one. Still, we say it's since you borrowed it from really before, you just didn't pick it up, so it's still considered like you borrowed it from before. So Messiah Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan hashoyel kli mechavero. If you borrow something me'erev Yom Tov, from Yerev Yom Tov, Ava b'shul nastulo el b'Yom Tov, even though he didn't actually give it to you until Yom Tov, harihu karagli hashoyel, which exactly is what the chiddush of our Mishnah is. On the other hand, b'Yom Tov, karagli hamashal. If let's say you don't actually borrow it and don't even ask him for it until Yom Tov itself, so therefore it has the limitations of the lender. So pshit, what if you have a situation where you often borrow this item from this person? So it's almost like a davar pashut that maybe it's already like in your rishus, even though it's not. It's maybe you would consider like it's in the rishus of the borrower. Kamash Malan, no. But Meimar Omer Dilma, because maybe you can say Dilma Mishkach Inish Achrini, you'll find someone else, and you'll borrow from someone else. So therefore, Lav Dafka, you're gonna say it's considered like it's in your rishus. So at the end of our Mishnah, the Sefer of the Mishnah said that if you have a woman that borrowed from her friend spices, water, salt, and it was for her dough. So obviously the most chashuv part is the flour, but all these smaller ingredients she borrowed. So we say Hari Karagli Shtehen. We say that it's considered like they're both linked to this dough. We say that the water and the spices and the salt, they're all considered to have value, and therefore it has the limitations of these two people, and therefore if they're a little bit apart, they're makam shmisa, so then they can only bring this dough in a certain direction. Fine. So Kisolik Rebbe Abba, Amr, he said, Yehi Rabba de Ema Milsa to Tiskabel. May it be the will of Hashem that I should be saying something when I arrive over there, something which will be accepted. Kisolik, and then when he actually went there, Ashkei Rav Yochanan, Rav Chanina, Bar Papi, Rav Zera, so he saw these great scholars. Ya'amrullah, Rav Avov, Rav Shimon ben Paz, Rav Yitzchak Nafcha, the Yasmikamer Amai, and they were wondering exactly what is the pshat at the end of this Mishnah. Says Rashi, why is it that it's karagli shtehen? Why do we say that the dough and the challah has the status of both these two people? We should say, let's continue in the Gemara, we should say that the water and the salt, which is so insignificant, should be batal. As Rashi says, it's the zutri, it's small, compared to the isa, the nefisha. So we shouldn't say, our mission does, that they're both linked together. But shouldn't we say that the water is batal, the salt is batal, the tablet is batal, and therefore, even though the person was nice to let you borrow these things, they are really not connected to this dough to the extent that now all of a sudden it's karagli shtehen. Why is it karagli shtehen? why don't we say it's batal? So Amul Rabbi Abba, as we continue to Lav Chesed Beis, Hare Shinis Ariv Kav Chitin Ba'asar Kav. Let's say someone mixed up one kav, one measure of wheat, together with 10 Ba'asar Kav Chitin, Shel Chaver of his friend, Yoichel, and he eats it. Hello, B'chadi, wouldn't he be rejoiceful? Shouldn't he should be pretty happy with all of this. So what that means is still the majority exists, so that kav exists too. So too by the salt, it exists. And that's how it goes in this Tosus on the bottom, first Tosus. He says Abul Hacha Hachi Parach Davade Mishinis Ariv Lo Kav Chitin, etc. Mishum Bittel Lo Paka Shem Balam. Even though, let's say it is batal, it's insignificant, doesn't make any difference. There's still ownership over here, even if it's a small amount. Hachinami mishum bittul lo paka shem balam. The konamayim melch shvise etzel balam lo batal. So he said, like, so what? Why would you think it should be batal? Because after all, we should just simply say that even though it may not be as significant or as much, but still it is of some worth. So in this achichole, so they laughed at this. Zarmulahu gultichu shakli. You took my clothes, says Rashi. Mulvushchem lokachti shatem esachim. It's like you took my garment because you were laughing upon me. So hader achichu leha, and then they continue to laugh. Amar Rabbi shaper abed the achichu leha. She says it's a good thing, and actually Rashi's bitmia. Is it really true that they thought that his answer was not correct? What's the shot when it comes to wheat and barley? Dulo karmelahu, that he didn't mention wheat and barley. Why did he say wheat and wheat? Why did he mention wheat and barley? Dulo karmelahu, the havli min b'shenu minai, because they're two separate things, and min b'shenu mino batal. And therefore, maybe when you have two separate things and one is insignificant, so it's mabatal the other. So why do we say the same thing about wheat to wheat? Nehi do Rabbi Huda lo batal. I understand that Rabbi Huda will say it's not batal, or Rabbanan mabatal batal. But again, it should actually be batal according to the shita of the Rabbanan. So Amli Rav Safra, Moshe Shaper Ka'amrit. He said that what you're saying is good. Shaper Ka'amrit. And this is actually the bitmia. Is it correct what you're saying? Lo shmielhu hadi amar Rav Chia ki tuspa mishmei derav. It was the following statement: Haber sroirais migarno shechaverav. A person separates rocks from the silo of his friend. Chayv l'shalom lo demei chitin. He has the obligation to pay for the value of the wheat. Alma kilo chasrei hachinami kilo chasrei. That even though it's true he's moving these rocks, nonetheless, says Rashi, Mibnei shechasr midaso. Now all of a sudden there's less there. So even though it was rocks, mischayvlo ve'afagav deloy midi shavi, they're really worthless. Nonetheless, those rocks, which really are insignificant, they are significant because it causes a weight, and therefore, by you removing them, it has less weight and less value. The Koshkin, says Rashi, Mayim melach lo batli. Certainly, we should not be mavatl the water and the salt. The matinu the mida the taimahu, because you're going to end up minimizing it and minimizing its taste and the like. So therefore, it makes sense that it should not be batal like our Mishnah says. Shouldn't we make a distinction between money which has collectors and those that don't? So our Mishnah is mammon she'en lo toivin. This is a situation where there's no one to claim it. Fine. So on this, the Gemara says, "Well, taimech hadiyam rav chista nevela batal b'shchuta." That a nevela can be mavatal with a shchuta. Lafishi actual shchuta shitasen nevela, because it's impossible for a shechted animal to have the status of a nevela, which means it has the din of min she'eno minoi. So shchuta eno batel b'nevela. However, a shchuta is not mavatal. A shchuta is not mavatal Why? It's possible that you can take a nevela and shecht it. So therefore, we say it's in this situation it's not batal. So achinami, we should say the same thing here. When there is owners lo batla, then it's not considered to be batal. So again, like our Mishnah, it makes sense that this should not be batal. The chitema hachinami, that you're right. V'hatema Rabbi Yochanan v'hatanya Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri chetzi hefker kainin shvisa. When it comes to the objects that are ownerless, they still are kind of their makam shvisa. Afabi she'in lahem balan, even if it doesn't have an owner. Yomi kimi sheish lahem balan, we consider as though it does have. So Amalei mika medamis isur l'mamayna. You can't compare mammon to isur. Isura batal, mamayna lo batal. Now the time of mine. So in fact, at the end of the day, what is the pshat? Why is it that water and salt is not batal? So Abai Omer says three terutzim. Abai says gezer shematasa isa b'shutvus. The problem is that even though you're right, maybe water and salt should be batal, but if let's say we say it's batal and therefore we don't even consider that person as part of the ragli shtehem, says Rashi, last line, asal meimer nami isas shutvus. You would maybe say that when it comes to two people that really own the dough together, that each one can just bring it to their own place, and that they're not connected to one another. Rav Omer's second answer, not that Rashi says that he argues with the Abai, just giving a different answer. Because when it comes to spices, even though you would think that they're not so significant, but they actually have significance because that's what brings out the taste of the food. And therefore you can never say that the taste is batal when it comes to the tavlin, to the spices. And therefore that person that you borrow the spices from is connected. As we continue Lam Tessamad Aleph, as we said numerous times, that the only time we have a leniency is if something is batal and that's the end of it. However, when it comes to this, by the water and the salt, when it's possible that Yom Tov comes and Yom Tov goes, you should be able to bring it wherever you want. So the only time we say a davar sheishel matirin, the only time we say that something is batal, is only when it's davar sheishel matirin. However, when it's a davar sheishel matirin, such as this, because it's Yom Tov, even if it's a small, tiny amount, even a 1 to 1,000 ratio, it's still going to be not batal, and therefore that's the reason why the Mishnah says that both of them are connected. Question 13. Ha'isha sheshala mechaverta tavlin umayim melch they're karagli shtehen. Matir begemara maskana b'taima the milsa the way I'm reading bittul umayim umelach barov. So it says either gzeira shematasa isa b'shutvis. Second answer is because tavlin is to give out taste, and tam is